I'm a Small Business Commissioner for the UK, and I have been in this role since July the 1st, so 8 months. However, I have always been a freelancer or run a small business. I grew up on a farm. I had the worst farmer in the world for a father because he absolutely loved his animals. He was completely passionate about them and cried on a Monday when the sheep went to market, on a Tuesday when the pigs went to market, on a Wednesday when the cattle went to market. We actually had a day off on Thursday, but the worst was the pigs. He couldn't bear to take the pigs to market. My mother, luckily enough, was a bookkeeper. My grandfather built houses, and they still stand in Ireland. However, he would never have been a member of the Finishing and Interiors Association because he couldn't put up a shelf. And his sister ran a corner shop, and of course we got to try out all the new sweets that ever came on the market, and we loved it. And I grew up with a mindset that said, I am going to work for myself. And as it turned out, it was just as well I had that mindset, because I'm completely unemployable. We can talk more about that later. So this is the first time that I've ever worked for the government department. Now, I work with the government department, I am not for it.
I wasn't looking at you. I don't know if anybody noticed, I was looking at Bill, but I got the deaths there.
You did, because you said 2 people on this panel work for government.
Yeah,
you see, I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm
going to stop digging at home.
Thanks, Charles. Nice to know we've got a couple of mates in the audience with all. Always got my back.
As somebody once said to you, Paul's just said to you, you're fired.
I'm an independent body that is called an arm's length body that works with government in order, in my case, to be able to talk to government and to opposition about what the issues are that small businesses are facing. I'm talking about freelancers, I'm talking about sole traders, I'm talking about micro businesses, and I'm probably talking about the small end of small businesses. Now, what I'm really grateful for is that you've had very clear messages from everyone else. It's complicated and it's isolating working on your own, and it can be disastrous, but we need the evidence, and you need to help us to gather the evidence in order to present that to government, in order to present it to policymakers. So we can work together on that, and we have to work together on that. Good business actually is really good for business, and being responsible is really good for business. Take the advice that's out there, because there's every sort of advice that you ever can need. Help, support, advice, information. How the hell do you find it at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're lying awake worrying about how you're going to keep your business operating, because you've got a business to run, and it's really difficult to do the research to find the right information. I love shopping in Aldi or Lidl. I don't want to shop in Sainsbury's or Tesco's because there's too much choice. I need a bit more focus, and I need to be able to find what I want as quickly as I possibly can. And I think that's part of the problem that we've got, in that there's a lot of information and not a gateway. And we need to really think about how we tell the stories about how we run our businesses. So I am a journalist by trade. I started in 1990, and in 1990, we were going through the worst recession as far as small businesses were concerned. Bill, you may remember, we were losing 1,000 small businesses a week, and tied to that, we were losing 76,000 homes to repossession in the year. And I think for 3 years in a row, there were around about that number of homes repossessed because small businesses were going out of business. So it was utterly, utterly heartbreaking to be working with those businesses. And I think that's when my passion for small businesses really kicked off. And I was a small business journalist or have been for 30 odd years, talking about all the different aspects of small businesses. Made 60 small businesses for BBC Two, And the most famous moment of my business were when one of my small businesses on air said, there are 3 P's in business. There are people, there are products, and there is location. I think he meant premises. But that played on Auntie's bloomers for years. However, we remembered what he had to say because it was a memorable story to a certain extent. So fast forward 30 odd years and the chance to be the Small Business Commissioner comes up. We're in the middle of the pandemic. I have been running a website for small businesses from the beginning of the first lockdown right through until I took on this role, talking to politicians like Steve Rotherham, who you just mentioned, like the rest of the mayors, like a lot of your fellow MPs, about small businesses and what it means to be a small business, what it means to be freelance, what the needs of the sole traders are, what the needs of a micro business is, because they're all different. And what I'm really pleased about is that nobody so far has used that awful term, which I am banning, SMEs. Never use it because it lumps everybody together as if their needs are the same, and they're very, very different. So my obsession now in the Small Business Commissioner's office is payments. Because frankly, if you don't get paid, you're running a hobby. And it's a really hard hobby if you're lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to work out how to make your business survive. You have to get paid. So there are 3 messages. You have to get paid. You have to make yourself payable. So you've got to get the invoices right in the first instance. The big businesses have to pay you. So we need to get them to understand why being a good, responsible business is good for their business. And also, there is an argument that the technology that's coming on stream helps you to put so much more effort into building your business and growing your business, because frankly, you have a lot more time to do that. So 3 stories very briefly from me. On a Friday afternoon, the Small Business Commissioner before me the office was phoned by a woman who said, I have no money to feed my children over the weekend because I haven't got paid. And my customer has promised me to pay this week and this week and this week, and on it's gone. And now I'm absolutely distraught. I don't know what to do. So the Small Business Commissioner got the details, lifted the phone, phoned the company, got through to the CFO, and the CFO said, oh my God, I had no idea. And he said, I have no idea that £300 invoice was actually more important and needed to be paid as a matter of urgency, rather than that £30,000 invoice that I was just about to pay before I went off for the weekend. And he said, I will pay that £300 now out of my personal bank account because that woman has to have something to feed her children with. The lesson there is that you have to sometimes chase up your invoices before they get to that point, and the Office of the Small Business Commissioner can help. But that lots of big businesses don't mean not to pay, but the processes are out of date, they haven't put any investment into them, and they don't get out of bed in the morning to do a bad job, but they inadvertently do a bad job because it seems to them that the big invoice for the big business is much more important. So we have to get these messages across by telling these stories. Gentleman I have worked with since I took over this role, he said to me, I get paid on average 66 days. Now, he's a small business, a micro business, and he gets a big piece of work. So of course he does what we all do, what I've been guilty of doing, and going, that's brilliant, this is life-changing, this is game-changing, it's going to change my business. And you forget to ask, when am I going to get paid? When do I put the invoice in? What's the information I need to put on that invoice? When is the money going to hit my bank account? You forget to do that. Anyway, in this case, James didn't. He looked at his cash flow and he thought, I'm not going to get through until I get paid because you're offering me 120-day payment terms. That's 4 months. What would an employee say if they were told they're going to be paid in 4 months? I'll be in arrears with my mortgage. The chances are the council tax won't get paid. The bills won't get paid. And it just wouldn't happen. So James said, I've looked at the cash flow. I can't manage. I will be out of money and I will have gone bust if you don't pay me. And the firm said, you know, nobody's ever said that to us before. What? They're thinking, these are my standard terms. And of course we go, standard terms? And we don't ask the question. What do you mean? What are your standard terms? Ask the question, do you need to know when you're going to get paid? James said no. He said, you're going to have to pay me in 30 days. They went away, looked at the processes and came back and said, we can't pay you in 30 days because our processes are so antiquated and out of date that it takes so many approvals to get that check written, you know what I mean, transfer made, that we can pay you in 45 days. That's the best we can do. And he said, okay. But one of the lessons about that is James got the confidence to push back and say, I can't accept 120 days. And now he gets paid on average in 33 days. So you have to have the confidence to say, no, I can't wait that long. But also it's the certainty. It's not just the 30 days, but it's knowing for certain when the money is going to hit your bank account, because then you know what you're going to be able to do. And the third lesson for me is you are the talent that drives big business success. So you have got skin in the game. You have got power to say, no, I need to negotiate a contract that suits me. And don't take it for granted that you're going to get paid in 30 days. Ask what they mean when they say standard terms. Check up exactly what information they need on an invoice or whatever it happens to be. Because you are the talent. And if they don't pay you in time and you can't manage your cash flow, you are going to be bust. And they're going to have to look somewhere else for talent. And that's going to cost them a lot of money because that's not good business. And doing the right thing is paying you properly for what you do. You would not walk into the butcher at Christmas and say, I'll pay you for the turkey at Easter. So don't let somebody use you as a bank account for their business, because that's not how it should work. And I'm utterly passionate about trying to work with small businesses to say, you have got the right to negotiate. Don't start the work until you know exactly what your payment terms are going to be. I want to say to big businesses, you have to nurture and work in partnership with your suppliers, wherever they sit in the supply chain, because actually it's good for your business if you do that. And give them proper inductions and instructions and details as to how to get paid. And thirdly, use any technology that comes along because you're going to save time. And another guy I work with says, he told me that after he realized that he could apply some of the technology to payments, etc., he now has half a day a week more time, which he's putting into looking for new customers and growing the business. And he now has a micro business with 3 employees where he had just himself when he started out. So there you go. A few thoughts from me. If you get stuck on your payments at all, or if you want to talk to me about your experiences of getting paid, just phone the office. Tony, you've got all the information.
Yeah.
Just phone the office, email me, ask to talk to us. We have a team who are there to try to help you get better payments out of your customers. But go for it. Take on board everything that's been said. On the advice front, businesses actually do better, and there is research to show that, if they have advice from good advisors. And just leave you with another little thought. I have a friend who is a bookkeeper, and she has a box on her doorstep. Her cleaner said to her the other day, I'm going to empty out that box on the doorstep because it's full of cigarette packets. She said, don't touch it. Those are my invoices from my clients. And they literally drive past and drop in the cigarette packets with details on, which she then transfers into digital. I couldn't believe it, but I know her well enough to know now that it is absolutely true. apply the technology, it'll save you an awful lot of time.